Hi there, everybody. How are you? Happy Wednesday. Happy day after Election Day. Happy for some, I know, not so happy for others, but let's just leave that out of that. Hey, welcome to our live stream that we try to do every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Not always, but it's the live thing we do. Last week we had Julie. That was fun. This week, I'm going to be honest, I was going to have my buddy Dave Steele on. Dave is fascinating. If you ever wondered about those big voice guys when you hear on your favorite radio station, you're listening to the hits on WNYC New York or WRBQ Tampa. Those guys who have that big voice. I was never blessed with that big radio voice. I wasn't. I'm not complaining. I'm happy with my voice. It's very distinctive. I get it. I know it freaks some people out when I meet him for the first time. I had a buddy of mine who introduced me to his wife, and she's like looking at me, and I'm like, "What's the matter?" And she goes, "I just can't watch you talk." So I just said, "Does this help?" She goes, "Yeah, it kind of does." I get it. I get it. But Dave is that guy when you're watching a documentary, or he does stuff like when the big voices. I think he does it for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. When they come out into the studio, when they come out in the stadium, and here comes the Cornhuskers. I don't know. I've never been to a Nebraska game, so I'm just throwing it out there. But Dave is that voice. He's that voice guy. And Dave and I have known each other for years. And I'll be honest, Dave reached out to me years ago. I'd forgotten Dave because the first time Dave and I met, and we'll tell this story when we find it another time, but matter of fact, I'll share with you in a couple of minutes. But Dave's not here today. Dave and I were getting ready to go on. And Dave lives in Indiana because with what he does, you can live anywhere you want. And he lives in Indiana. And one of the things he does is he is a volunteer fireman. And he literally texts me and goes, "Gary, I've got a fire to go to. I've got to go fight a fire right now. He goes, can we delay this a couple hours?" And I'm like, "No, dude, it's a live stream. We're doing it live. Usually when you do the podcast world and stuff, that things come up all the time. Even with interviews with KRTY.com, we usually tape those. So yeah, whenever you want to work around, I'll find a time to make it work for you. But this is real time, live time. And I said, don't worry about it. What you're doing is so much more important than what I'm doing right now. So go take care of the fire, and we'll find another time. We'll find another day, and we'll do this because he's just lived this fascinating life. But I'll share with you again. I'd forgotten Dave. You're like, well, what a jerk you are. And I'm like, but hold on. The first time Dave and I ever met each other, I was doing the night show, 7 to midnight at KKMG in Pueblo, Colorado. 7 to midnight, Magic FM. I was the hot rockin' night jock. And I became a little bit infamous. Every weeknight at 10 o'clock, I would do something called the Boogie Check. And the Boogie Check was an idea I stole from John Records Landecker. I freely admit it. If you're an old radio geek, look him up. But I thought it was a wonderful idea. And what I would do is I would tell the kids, because it was mainly kids, I was playing pop music. And I'd tell the kids, listen, call in and do whatever you want. You want to do a skit? You want to say something funny? The only thing of it is it's got to be under 30 seconds, preferably under 20 seconds. And it took a little while, but they figured it out. And so from 7 until like 9:30, people would just call in, and I just hit the phones, and it was all on buttons. And you just push the button, and then we next person. And they would, as they got used to it, they would say the funniest, weirdest things. And then I would take it. We taped it all on reel to reel. That's right, kids. Long before computers, we had to actually tape it. And it was the most complicated thing in the world because you'd have to cut the little spaces out. You'd have to literally mark the tape with a grease pencil, cut them out, put them together, tape them back together, and you would create this little free-flowing reel. Now, it was tremendously hard to do, especially while you were continuing to do the show you were doing, right? And it's pop music, everything was 3 minutes long. So I only had 2 minutes to work with, and it was just crazy busy, but it taught me so much. It was a wonderful training ground. And I'd put these together, and then at 10 o'clock every night, I'd play this really. It would be totally inappropriate to play now, but it was this opening that all the kids liked, but I'm not going to act like I'm doing it, because again, it would offend people, and again, it's not racist or anything like that, but it just doesn't play in today's society. But back then, back in 1983, 84, it worked perfectly. And then I would just play this thing for about 2 or 3 minutes. It'd be 2 to 3 minutes of calls, and the kids loved it. It was all that stuff. So anyway, I was kind of a big deal in Pueblo, Colorado, with the high school kids, right? And they would come in, they would call, and through their school, they would ask if they could either watch what we're doing, or in this case, somebody called and said, we're doing a thing at our school. Can we do a commercial about it? And I'm like, absolutely. We're always looking. They called them PSAs, public service announcements, and we were always looking to do that. Well, we said, okay. They had scheduled it, and they wanted to do it with me. And so they called my boss and said, can we come in and do this thing with Gary? Wilton, how are you, my friend? I work with Wilton in Louisiana. That's another story. But we they would come in, and I would record it. And I did this. I recorded this thing with this kid, right? And I wasn't. I was probably 22 at the time, 21, 22. Don't act like I was that much older. I recorded it, and yay, being fun. Never thought about it again. Well, Dave Steele reached out to me and said, I was one of those kids who came in and recorded with you. And I told myself, that looks fun. That's what I want to do for a living. And he did. And he did it successfully, and he'd done it for a long time. And now he's transitioned to doing voices because he has the voice for it. So that's it. And I just saw my friend Wilton. I work with him in Louisiana, KBIU, Bayou 104. And I was the night guy there too. I started off 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. That was my first real professional job out of college. And then I moved in the mornings, and then went on to the next place, right? Because that's what you did. You went on to the next place. So my history is Florell, Alabama, then Troy and Enterprise, and from there KBIU, and from KBIU to KKMG to KIVIA Power 105 in Albuquerque to KTRR in Fort Collins, and then I've been here since 1991. I know, right? It's a zillion years ago. So we'll find a time to get Dave Steele back on, because I'm fascinated by how he did it and how he transitioned, and what's that's like, and what's it like when you have all of this stuff that you're doing. Emma, thank you. I am thrilled to be here. I always tell everybody, I'm the most blessed man you know. And I don't even know who's in second place, because I'm literally that far ahead. If you could have sat back and went to my 14-year-old self and said, hey, this is going to be your life one day, you might as well have told me I had a condo on Mars. It was just as believable. So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'll get back Dave Steele, because I think you'd really love his story, and he's just a fun guy. And I'm going to be talking to Chris Eichenberger. It's like, listen, if you have a charity event or something, and you'd like to come on and talk with me about it on one Wednesday, reach out to me. Gary at GaryScottThomas.com. You can go to GaryScottThomas.com, and that's where you'll find my podcast and everything else. But if you have an event coming up and you want to talk about it, listen, I'll talk about it. Let's come on and discuss things about it, or whatever you want to do. This is just a fun little thing that we get to do. Latest edition of the podcast, before I go, because I only do this for 10 minutes, is TJ Miller. TJ Miller, comedian. He was actor. He's Weasel on the first two Deadpool movies. You know, the guy in the bar who takes bets on Deadpool dying. And also the voice in so many animated movies, including Fred on Big Hero 6 and Meh in the Emoji movies. TJ joins me. We had a great time. It's about a 30-minute thing, and we've already made plans to do it again and go longer. And he tells a story about how he met his wife that I think is just, it's funny and so flippin' cute. It really is. All right. Have yourself a great day. Thank you for tuning in. It's good to catch you guys. And hey, we'll be back next week with Chris from the Salvation Army. And then if there's, we'll see if we can get Dave back on. And again, if you have a charity or something you want to talk about, event coming up for your nonprofit, let me know about it. We'll see if we can get this on and talk about it. All right. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.